Every body of water on Earth helps to support different ecosystems and is vital to the environment as a whole. Estuaries play a unique and important role as nurseries for many species of oysters, fish, and turtles, as well as being a safe haven for migratory birds. An estuary is where freshwater rivers meet the saltwater oceans. This environment is influenced by both, where it has tides and salt fluctuations, and freshwater cycling and sediment deposits. This combination allows for a high nutrient level and leads to estuaries being highly populated by humans and animal and plant species. Adult fish will travel into the estuaries from the ocean and lay and fertilize eggs because the estuaries supply a certain amount of protection that enables the newly hatched fish to grow and be prepared to enter the more dangerous ocean. In much the same way, shrimp will grow in the estuaries and float into the sea when the tide goes out. Estuaries serve as protection and buffers against natural disasters, contain abundant amounts of natural resources, and have fertile areas that benefit farmers. The number one cause of estuarine depletion is human exploitation. In the 1950s, overfishing in estuaries, because of easy access to salmon and sturgeon, developed a still ongoing tragedy of the commons. The fish found in these types of areas are greatly desired by the public, and in effect, overfishing has created more problems other than the depletion of certain fish and shellfish. The manner in which the fishing and farming is done leads to a devastating destruction of the estuaries, because through the exposure to boats and the pollution and waste released off the boats, the waters become contaminated. Many species that live in the estuaries are extremely sensitive to slight chemical changes in the waters. Invasive species are also introduced through the carelessness of fishermen. The species, like the oyster drills and Chinese mitten crabs, get introduced to the delicate environment and have no true predators. These species then take over the environment and either kill off or steal the sustenance of native species. Invasive species are very difficult to control, and boat holes can be the manner in which the unwelcome critters travel to new destinations to thrive. A surge of nutrients from farm fertilizer, animal waste, water treatment discharge, and atmospheric deposition has led to the destruction of this specific ecosystem and the killing of oysters, shrimp, and other estuarine-dependent species. Pollution is always a problem, but with the overwhelming human population that chooses to live near estuaries, the problem increases. Factories generally do not control the chemical waste of their products, and the waste can be seen then released into the environment. According to author Julia Cart from the Chicago Tribune, estuaries like Louisiana's Barataria Bay serve as nursery and breeding ground for the Gulf's world-famous shrimp, crab, oyster, and fish. However, due to current oil spills, oil penetrating that connection threatens the unique system of floating freshwater marsh. This wetland system that fringes the coast is often called Liquid Louisiana, and although important, it continues to be attacked by pollution. In CNN Politics, Louisiana is also discussed because of the threat of oil to estuaries. This article observes that dredging the oil will be the most effective manner to control the spread. The article also draws attention to the importance of estuaries to all people. According to AusCoast, an Australian governmental program, industrial waste is not the only reason for the damage and depletion of estuaries. Other pollution is caused by fertilizers and animal waste that run off into these areas. An increase of nitrogen and phosphorus in the estuaries is called nutrient pollution. This can lead to an algae bloom that uses a lot of oxygen, and when it dies, it suffocates the bottom of the estuarine floor, where bacteria then eats the dead algae and utilizes the spare oxygen in the water. This is known as a dead zone because the depletion of oxygen does not allow plants and animals to thrive in the environment any longer. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA, emphasizes this growing problem, while Rebecca Murray from Johns Hopkins University, the head author of the Chesapeake Bay study, researches this hypoxia, though naturally occurring. She realizes that it has increased due to a lack of regulation of fertilizers released into the water. The increase of dead zones in the Chesapeake Bay estuary, one of the largest estuaries in the world, is a growing concern because this estuary supports nearly 3,600 species of plants, fish, and other animals. The Geochemical and Environmental Research Group at Texas A&M has established and manages the operation to collect evidence that atmospheric transport and deposition is an important pathway by which certain toxic chemicals reach coastal waters. Murphy also proved that the dead zones were caused by climate change as well, and not just from these chemical changes. The change of wind, sea levels, and salinity, she stated, were the combined reasons for stratification to occur. Stratification is where the denser salt water drives underneath the less dense fresh water and creates a barrier where the oxygen cannot reach the marine animals on the bottom floor. An article in the Los Angeles Times accentuates the growing concern that climate change is drastically affecting estuaries. Author Frank Clifford reports that the Colorado River Delta, another estuary, is becoming depleted because of the dry weather and ongoing drought. Fishermen are left hungry because there are no fish. The hard winds and severe climate decreases the estuarine water levels enough to where the fish move elsewhere. Other LA Times articles emphasize the effect of humans on estuaries, with one describing the effect of encroaching commercialization in Los Ciertos wetlands, and the other giving insight into another aspect of pollution. Hector Tovar shows that litter clogs the flow of estuaries and also kills the fish and various animals that live there. The depletion of estuaries is a worldwide problem and is not just present in North America. And the Australian Johnny Kalbetzer is the author of an article that draws attention to the fact that the Murray River estuary was destroyed by barges, and as a consequence, the lower lakes regions in Australia continue to decline in health. In an excellent observation, the author informs the reader that just as wetlands need fresh water, rivers need estuaries. When water is blocked from reaching these critical zones, the nutrients from the estuaries cannot flow. Japan Times also shows the interesting view of estuaries as protectors of inland areas. Mangroves are a common sight in estuaries on Yokoshima Island, but fisheries and deforestation has killed these trees. According to Gerard Toff, Japan has now realized that if the islands had maintained these special saltwater-resistant trees and not destroyed them, the tsunamis would not have been so damaging. Mangroves act as a buffer against such massive waves, and without the presence of these mangrove estuaries and their strong intricate roots, the island eroded against the oncoming waves. The Linfest Ocean Program states that 65% of the destruction of wetlands can be blamed on humans, and the destruction was because of resource exploitation, habitat destruction, and pollution. The population, therefore, must realize the effects of humans on estuaries before it is too late to reverse the damage. Estuaries are essential for many species and must be protected.